So last time, in my haste to escape the hunter, I did manage to overlook a couple of interesting items down in the basement. First of which involves that room where we picked up the orb holding our sister. Yeah, for some reason the watery abyss has changed to a starry ethereal abyss. I assume because the hunter wants to cut off avenues of exploration for us. The second item of interest involves that stone figure at the end of the hallway because, if you do make the mistake of looking at it at this point, it will lead you into the second death of the game. For now, though, with our sister in our pocket, I assume, we can now try to make our way out of the mansion. The problem is that we don't really have any idea of where to go or what to do. I mean, at this point, we've gone to pretty much every room we could find.
Wait a minute. That butterfly you're holding is still red. What do you think you're doing? Its beautiful shape will be destroyed, and it'll turn back into an ugly human if you keep carrying it around like that.
Also, each one of the denizens of the mansion will have a new bit of dialogue for us, and it pretty much reflects what we learned from them before, which in the case of this butterfly is he doesn't really want us to leave or to get in the way of any of the butterflies, so he's not going to be of much help. And in fact, we could technically hit up any of the other butterflies right now to maybe get a little bit of information. But considering our luck so far, I think our best course of action is to just go back to that portrait up in the games room and see if that can't give us a little bit of a hint. Now, I suppose you could always go with the avenue of trial and error. There honestly isn't that many times in the game where it forces you to look at the hint picture. I think the only times you really had to do that was, I think, to get into the secret room and I think to find the matches.
So this is your sister. She makes a precious butterfly, doesn't she? You might never have found her if it weren't for me. Older and wiser, you know.
Yeah, I agree with the old and wise part, but I think she managed to leave off the horribly slow portion of her.
There's more I know that you don't, too. Like, soon the mansion will vanish, and I bet you'll never make it out of this place before that happens.
Yeah, and as before, this particular denizen gives quite a bit of a pep talk, but at least she does give us this wisdom in the hint portrait here. And hey, it does give us an opportunity to revisit the art room and I guess maybe talk to that butterfly a bit more. I think you could technically maybe get a little bit more dialogue if you do happen to go into some of these rooms in between, I guess, finding other items, but it doesn't really give you too much more backstory. The question now, though, is where is the item or things in this room that I guess that portrait was hinting at? Doesn't seem to be in either of these two places.
Hey, what happened to this butterfly? It still has red wings. They haven't turned blue yet. I see. You brought it from the basement, didn't you? Don't think you can get out of this mansion. Many have tried. None have succeeded.
It is a little strange to me that the current people living here do seem to know the difference between the color of the wings.
No one from here can restrain you, so it's up to you as to whether you leave this place or not. Stay if you will. This mansion really isn't a bad place. It's just an escape from the real world.
I mean, does the hunter really reveal that much information about which type of butterfly is a permanent resident and which one isn't? It's been hard to tell. For now, though, the item that we are looking for, without many other places to look, is actually right around the corner here. Thing is, though, it doesn't really seem to have an immediate and obvious use. I mean, it's obviously of some use, it is in our inventory, but what use is a clock? Well, outside of the obvious. Still, I don't really feel inclined to immediately go back to the hint portrait. So, I guess we could just hit up somebody for some helpful hints. I don't think the person there, the bedroom at the end of the hallway, is going to be much help. Kind of left her in a bit of a bad state. Instead, I think that the butterfly down the music room seems like she might be the most upfront with help. Or at least she's been the one that's been the most vocal about, I guess, having some measure of regret about being trapped in here as a butterfly. And she did seem pretty open with trying to help us to get out of here.
What different and beautiful wings. I see the moon has not yet completed its magic. You may have a chance to reverse the transformation.
So, much like in the art room, there is an item hidden away in here. And the good news is that there aren't too many places where it could be.
The dark is safer if you have a light. Take this and run quickly.
Now, the mention of needing to go quickly there is something relevant at this point because that clock we just got does indeed measure time, and in fact is a timer before we get trapped forever in the mansion. As the hunter kind of said last time around, even though it was a bit hard to make out, once the moonlight fades from the mansion, or, basking the mansion in its moonlight, we will be forever trapped here. So, we do have a timer now, and it's actually pretty lenient. Still, we probably want to take our best route to get to the darkened area that this candelabra will help us with. And it does allow me this to show off this little undersided door here. Because as far as I can tell, it doesn't really have any other usage outside of maybe giving you a a quick route to the den area over here. But yeah, as you might recall, as we entered this room the first time around, we could look into the fireplace here, except it was obscenely dark, and we couldn't really see anything else in here. But with our brand new light source, we might be able to find more. We do find a pretty foreboding corridor here. Though outside of a very pounding soundtrack, there isn't that much to it. Yeah, the walls seem pretty solid. It seems to be a dead end outside of this weird indention here. And, I don't know, you might be just banging your head against the wall to figure out how to solve this puzzle. And believe it or not, that is the solution. Yeah, this is probably the most obtuse puzzle in the game because you never really have to use your massive forehead to solve anything else, but yeah, with a little bit of trial and error or just general experimentation, we do manage to find a brand new key. And at this point in the game, there is only one locked thing that really comes to mind. And in fact, it is pretty close by. Yeah, you might recall this wine cabinet here has been locked for the entire game. But with our brand new key, it is no longer locked, and we get a very peculiar grape crest. I suppose it might make sense, what with the wine in there, but this den area just seems a bit odd because it doesn't have a butterfly living inside of it, so we don't really get any idea of additional story or why there's a grape crest, but we'll just go along with it for now. So we'll just go ahead and place our newly obtained crest. Which gives us access to another secreted away area of the mansion. A very strange area that gives us access to, well, 3 different doors. Each one of which has a number, and I guess without any real hint, yeah, you just kind of press forward, and you're immediately greeted by yet another strangely ornated grape item. Along with that grape mirror, we also find 2 more doors with, well, 3s on it again. Yeah, there's nothing we can do with the mirror, so I guess we could try one of the doors. Seems, though, that we managed to make, I guess, a mistake because we find ourselves back in the main foyer area of the mansion. And yeah, as you might be pretty confused by now, you can probably guess that we are indeed missing a very necessary item to complete the game. Now, I'm not 100% sure if you have to enter that 3-doored area before you can get this item. But, well, I guess at this point, there aren't very many places where we can still find items. I guess you could still go back to the hint portrait there, but I think the way the game has set up pretty much every room is that you will find at least one key and one key item in each one of the rooms. The only place where we haven't found a key item, but we have found a key, is in this pink nightmare of a bedroom on the right-hand side of the second floor. And the keen-eyed viewer might have noticed it back in the first video, amongst the tea party here.
Hey, what are you doing with that crystal? Put it back! It carries the power to repel the magic of the moon. If you don't handle it wisely, you could be banished from the mansion forever! The spell will be broken and time will pass quickly for me as I have been here for years. I will become a grown-up. I don't want to be a grown-up. I don't.
Well, that certainly is a new wrinkle that we really haven't heard made mention by of any of the other butterflies. The fact that if someone is able to escape, it seemingly breaks the spell for every other butterfly in the mansion. The thing is, though, a part of me wants to think that maybe that's just the hunter lying to that particular butterfly to, I guess, keep them locked away in here and not have them use the magic item nearby to maybe escape the mansion. It honestly seems like, well, the hunter has preyed on each person's, I guess, different mindset. In the case of the artist, he offered them eternal freedom to indulge in their art. In the case of that particular butterfly we just left, I guess he may have offered them eternal youth and childlike wonder in that horrible bedroom. And I guess with the butterfly enthusiast, he probably just offered them an infinite supply of victims. In the end, though, it is quite an interesting possible take on the story, though it's never really looked into anymore. Yeah, with that magical stone in hand, it is now time to fully solve this very strange and slightly confusing puzzle. Now, we are not greeted with the mirror this time around. Instead, we are greeted with another 3 doors. This time around, they do have a different set of numbers. And I think the general idea is that you're supposed to pick a number that either only contains 3s or added together equals a number that is divisible by 3. I'm wanting to say the hint for this was supposed to be on the cards back in the games room, because I think those cards had, 3 different cards of 3 suits or something. I don't know. You could possibly just trial and error your way through this, especially because sometimes it's a bit strange, like 66 should work, but in the case of that set of doors, it actually wants you to go for 7 plus 7 plus 7, which is 21. Yeah, in the end, it's a bit of a really strange, almost off-putting puzzle to leave as the final hurdle to get to the end of the game. And I guess there is some measure of tension since you are kind of trying to race against the clock because, yeah, they did kind of pop up the clock there after you got the stone, which makes me think that time is actually flowing a little bit quicker now. Still, we are getting very close to the end. I think we only have to get through another 2 doors. And if you are curious about what happens when you do run out of time, it's sadly not that interesting. I don't think there's any dialogue. I think it just goes straight into that cutscene where the clock strikes 12 and you're just turned into a butterfly and everything goes a little bit cosmic. Yeah, now that we have managed to make our way to this mysterious Grape mirror, we have managed to make it in plenty of time. And with that, all we have to do is use that magic stone, and we should be good to go.
Wait, young lad. Where are you going? Don't go.
Just as quickly as we manage to stumble into the mansion in the darkness, so too do we manage to escape before it disappears off into the ether. And as with most modern fairy tales, this story does end on a very happy note, because we did manage to escape with our sister. Able to save her from an eternity imprisoned as a butterfly. That, our tale is over, and everybody gets to live happily ever after. So there you have it. A very strange, short, whimsical fairy tale that's presented in a pretty simplistic adventure game setting. I feel like they probably could have done a lot more with this were it not on the Sega CD, but I think they tried to do their best with the limitations they were given. And they did manage to make a sequel, which, well, it was on a much more powerful system, the Sega Saturn. It sadly managed to lose a lot of the charm and a lot of the oddness that this game had. There was also a third game in the series which I was thinking about doing an LP of, but we will see. For now, though, hopefully you enjoyed this little romp through a strange adventure game for the Sega CD, and hopefully you will join me next time for whatever it is that I'll LP. See you then.